The galaxy delivered its judgment. It had no idea who it was really sentencing. Before we begin, do humanity a favor and type here in the comments below. That simple signal tells the algorithm to share this story with every sci-fi fan who needs to hear it. I want to know who's standing with us. The decree arrived without fanfare. I in the central chamber of the Triad Spire. 3 Eldari magistrates floated above a radiant dais, their garments throbbing with a sickly violet luminescence. No celebration, no movement, only the crushing pressure of 1 billion hidden observers. As the ruling reverberated to the cosmic network, a display pulled back from a sluggish, turning Earth, pulling past our moon, past the red dust of Mars, until our entire solar neighborhood hung naked and tagged as forgotten. Proctor Viral lifted a slender appendage, the vast room hushing at a command. His voice sliced the quiet. In the case of the sentient designation Earth, this high conclave, vested with the full authority of the Eldari Accord, pronounces a human species fundamentally erratic, socially degenerative, and in active danger to galactic stability. A ripple of sound moved through the assembled spectators from 100 worlds. Some bobbed their heads in grim satisfaction. Others, more cautious, exchanged hushed words in clicking dialects. None raised an objection. Viral continued, toneless. Effective the stellar cycle, humanity enters a period of transitional stewardship. All martial infrastructure will be dismantled. Orbital sovereignty passes to coalition regulators. Cultural reassessment commences within one standard rotation. In a lower gallery, a cluster of Altari, beings of polished bone and silken cord, erupted into cruel, chittering mirth. A silver envoy, slender and eel-sleek, grinned with a mouthful of needle teeth and hissed into his translator. They still propel themselves by burning dead matter. Their final significant conflict used kinetic projectiles. This isn't conquest. It's a kindness. More laughter. A delegate with carapace armor rattled as he chuckled. Let them retain their primitive tools. Perhaps one will adorn a history exhibit. The signal cut, then restored. Across the Milky Way, on military posts, deep space stations, and trading nexuses, the same pronouncement was displayed. But on Earth, the quiet had a different texture. General Van stood isolated in the central command bunker deep below the New Geneva complex, carved into the bedrock of the Eurasian plate. The light from the broadcast screen washed over his stony face as Viral's final words played out. Around him, junior officers sat frozen. No one stirred. Colonel Reed, hawk-faced and sharp, let out a tense breath. They mean it. They genuinely believe will just cease. Across Earth's networks, the verdict replayed. In underground shelters, children held blankets tight as alien voices dictated their fate. In veterans' homes, old soldiers watched, their gazes hard. On mining outposts orbiting Saturn, workers exchanged looks of pure disbelief. In a university hall on Luna, a professor stopped lecturing, slowly sat, and just watched. But in the war room, Vance didn't flinch. He watched the feed one final time. Then he gave a single, curt nod to Lieutenant Shaw. Execute the broadcast. Seconds later, every channel, civilian, military, interstellar, was overridden. The screen glitched. There was no audio that IT started with archaic, newly declassified records. Grainy monochrome footage of a Spec Ops team moving through a blizzard, ghost-like and efficient. A jump forward, orbital energy weapons lancing from an antique defense platform, atomizing an aggressor cruiser in a flash. Then a desert assault, armored vehicles kicking up storms of sand as troops in next-gen suits advanced alongside drone clouds, reducing a fortress to rubble in under a minute. Another cut, a drone's eye view of the frozen hellscape after the Europa engagement. Shattered ice, fallen sky spires, and one soldier hauling his wounded commander from a collapsing tunnel an instant before it vanished in fire. Next, thermal imaging from the Arctic Wars. Shapes moving through lethal storms, flanking and dismantling armored walkers 3 times their mass. Still, complete silence. Then, the final shot. Vance, in his uniform, old and worn. His medals were tarnished, his collar frayed from a lifetime of command. He didn't pose. He stared into the lens with the frozen calm of a man who has witnessed extinction and remembered every detail. You should look deeper into our past. The screen went dark. 10 seconds ticked by. Then pandemonium. In the galactic opinion stream, a live river of thoughts viewed by trillions. The channel exploded. "This is a forgery," wrote a Kasari diplomat. "These records are ancient fabrications," declared an analyst from the Core Media Guild. "Why is a human on screen? I thought they were obsolete." For many civilizations, it wasn't hyperbole. Generations had been taught that humans were myth, exaggerated fables to justify defense spending. In academic catalogs across the Midrim, Earth's coordinates were listed as culturally inert. In some sectors, the name Terra had been purged from common language, replaced by sterile numeric codes. They cannot even achieve faster than light travel. Another comment scoffed. But then a second silence descended, not of confusion, but of dawning dread. Among the Varnari, a species of insectoid archivists renowned for their dispassionate logic, one delegate terminated their public feed without explanation. The Euro Concord, crystalline master strategists, filed an urgent request for access to Earth's full military registry, only to find every pathway encrypted or simply absent. Their analysts returned one verdict: deliberate historical obfuscation. Near Kepler 92, an Avenor commander watched the footage twice, then murmured his adjutant, "I fought in the Eladari War of 842. Those maneuvers, that's not theory, that's instinct." In the Triad Spire, Proctor Viral's expression didn't change, but the bioluminescent spots along his neck dimmed for a fraction of a second, a telltale sign of stress for those who knew how to look. Back in the Earth Command bunker, the room burst into controlled motion. Officers relayed commands, voices low and urgent. No yelling, no panic, just execution, as if this moment had been anticipated for centuries. In a subsurface shelter, a teacher met the eyes of her young students and simply raised a finger to her lips. They fell still. One boy gripped his toy spacecraft until his knuckles turned white. On Luna, a retired Marine slammed a fist onto a table and headed for the armory. On Mars, colonists began sealing atmospheric locks, movements practiced and precise. General Vance remained still for another moment. Then he spoke, softly, only to his inner circle. "They believe they've kicked in a door. Let's introduce them to what was standing behind it. The story of our erasure began 830 years prior. I am the administrative heart of the Eladari Alliance. A motion passed with little notice. The Radhari delegation, serpentine beings with glossy obsidian skin and drifting bioluminescent fronds, presented a confidential brief to the Security Council. A psychological evaluation of species designation. So, 3 humans. Concluded, redundant, emotionally volatile, prone to abrupt aggression. The Radhari emissary, Sorak, never raised his voice. Their historical archives show primitive dominance rituals and propensity for rapid escalation. We must ensure their capacities are properly contextualized. No one objected. The Sulver sought a distraction. The Altari wanted political leverage. The Eladari feared instability. And so, the rewriting began. Centuries of battle logs were recategorized as cultural allegory. Tactical databases were labeled theoretical simulation. The deepest files vanished behind 10 tiers of clearance, never to be accessed. Entire campaigns, the orbital drop over Phobos, the Arcturus blockade, were reduced to footnotes. Even Terran command was scrubbed, replaced by generic terms like Regional Security Cell 2274. By the 3rd century, Earth's former allies spoke of them in the past tense. What couldn't be erased was buried. What couldn't be buried was ridiculed. The Ratharis' next move was subtle. They enlisted the Zenadar shapeshifters, nomads without a homeworld, surviving by selling their services. Their natural form was vaguely amphibious insectoid, with elongated skulls and 4 dark, reflective eyes. But they rarely stayed natural for long. They were observers by biology, spies by trade. 50 were deployed to Earth. Their mission: blend, observe, report. Kale was one. He arrived during the Reconstruction, assuming the identity of a data archivist in the Pacific Coalition. Others became engineers, teachers, even a bartender in a Martian settlement for 30 years. They never broke cover, until some of them did. The fracture started quietly. Kale had bonded with a human, a former pilot turned historian named Elias. They debated, shared meals. When Elias fell ill with neural decay, Kale remained at his bedside for days. Elias died holding Kale's hand, whispering, "Thank you, my friend who never was." Something in Kale broke. Another Xenodar, embedded as a reactor engineer, stopped filing reports. A third, on a deep space relay, deactivated her own transmitter. In a hidden safe house in Jakarta, 5 Xenodar met, their disguises discarded. "You're becoming too attached," one purist hissed. "We are observers, not participants." Kale's gaze was steady. "No, you were sent to follow orders. I was sent to understand. And I have..." What followed was a cascade of silent choices. Not a rebellion, but a realignment. 12 Xenodars severed their feeds. Some married. Some had children. Others walked openly into Terran military installations and let their forms melt away. In an Andes mountain base, General Marvas, a veteran of the Orion incursion, stood face to face with Kale in his true form. The room held its breath. Voss didn't reach for a weapon. She extended an open hand. "You're either already one of us," she said, "or you never understood what that means." Kale looked at the offered hand. Then he took it. Days later, the first gift was given, a hybrid cloaking system using biomimetic fields and quantum distortion. Not just invisibility, total environmental erasure. Soon, Kale stood before General Vance and his council. "They will come," Kale stated, "and not alone. Radhari influence is pervasive. They will bring others." Vance leaned back. "What do they believe about us?" Kale didn't blink. "That you are divided, backward, and desperate." Vance gave a thin smile. "Perfect. A false intelligence report was prepared by the Xenodar and delivered to the Alliance. It showed a fractured, scrambling Earth in the Alliance chambers. Sorak seized upon it, slamming a tendril against the data scroll. They advance in secret. This violates the Accords. I demand a forceful resolution." The Solver agreed. The Altari followed. Within a week, authorization was granted. Point 3 assault fleets were gathered. The Vogar, whose organic dreadnoughts never negotiated. The Kul, methane breathers who fired on civilian bands indiscriminately. The Skriari, fanatics who viewed human biology as an abomination. From Earth's orbital command balcony, General Vance watched the threat indicator spike. The war was incoming. In the shadows beside him, Kale was silent. "They believe they're coming to dismantle a relic," Vance said, not turning. Kale finally spoke, his voice low. "They are not launching an invasion. They are arriving precisely on schedule." The first Vogar fleet crossed Neptune's orbital boundary in full battle array. Their flagship, the Talon of Rojan, moved with terrifying mass. Its commander broadcast a single word: "Submit." No reply. The second fleet, the Kul swarm carriers, entered from another vector. The Skriari dagger ships flitted between them. Still, nothing. No defensive grids activated. No challenge was issued. The solar system lay open and silent. Rojan chittered in contempt. "They do not even resist. Burn their worlds to ash before they stir." The order was given. The fleets advanced past Mars, and then the system blinked, just once, a flicker on long-range sensors. The lead Vogar cruiser ceased to exist. One moment a warship, the next a cloud of expanding plasma, tearing 2 escort vessels apart. Then 4 more vanished simultaneously. No projectile trails, no energy signatures, just erasure. Kul commanders screamed for sensor sweeps. Their signals found nothing to lock onto. Above Saturn, structures long classified as weather monitoring stations unfolded like metal blossoms. Silent lances of superheated plasma cut perfect, geometric sways through the Kul formation. A Skriari frigate attempting to jump to warp imploded mid-transition. Aboard the Talon, Rojan screeched for a full retreat. "They are cloaked, invisible." The remaining ships tried to scatter. The asteroid belt responded. Seemingly inert rocks detonated, filling space with shrapnel and magnetic mines, shredding half the remaining force. The survivors fled in disarray. Aboard the coal command vessel, War Leader Ras stared at his annihilated fleet displays. "This is not a battle," he whispered. "It is a deletion protocol, and we're the data being purged." Back in the war room, the air smelled of ozone. General Vance watched casualty reports scroll silently. Colonel Reed spoke. "They're in full retreat." "They were never advancing," Vance replied. "They were entering a kill box prepared hours ago." While the galaxy processed a slaughter near Jupiter, the next attack began. Not with weapons, but with whispers. Drones disguised as battle debris latched onto communication nodes. One by one, relays went silent. Orbital traffic lanes glitched and vanished. "Lost contact with Sector 6, Lieutenant Shaw reported, her voice tense. "Navigation is failing." A technician called from the rear. Then, the first major loss. "Leonov Station is dark." Vance turned. "Confirm." On screen, a schematic of Mars updated. A red X pulse where the station, a centuries-old symbol of human presence, had been. It was gone without a distress call. No escape pods. "How many aboard?" Colonel Reed asked quietly. 121, Shaw answered. Silence. The pressure in the room thickened. Vance stepped forward. "Lock down all remaining command nodes. Assume any system not physically hardwired is compromised." On the tactical grid, red zones spread like blood in water. A hospital ship, its navigation corrupted, collided with a freighter. 2 more destroyers vanished into gravitational dead zones. "We are under a coordinated infiltration," Shaw stated, the realization cold. Archer didn't flinch. "Initiate containment protocol. Local command authority only. We operate blind if we must." In a far corner, someone whispered, "It's happening again." But on the shattered moon of Phobos, a flicker of hope ignited. Lieutenant Maya Cruz led a battered team, 2 Marines, an engineer, and a wounded Xenadar Kale through failing corridors. They'd been cut off for 2 days. Their goal, an ancient analog magnetic relay, buried and forgotten. Drones hunted them. They sealed doors, fought in tight corridors. Kale took a wound protecting the engineer. They reached the relay chamber, dark, frozen dust everywhere. The engineer, Patel, worked frantically. "If I can route thermal power, we can send an encrypted pulse. No digital signature to intercept." "Do it," Cruz ordered. Sparks flew. The pulse fired IN orbit. A Radhari drone processing the signal received conflicting commands. It paused, recalibrated, and self-destructed. Kale lifted his head. They heard it. Across the system, a chain reaction began. An obsolete lunar relay woke up. A magnetic array near Venus responded. The sabotage signal propagated on a mining rig above Saturn. A civilian operator watched as his longtime co-worker, a quiet man, tapped the console twice. The man's form shimmered, his true Xenadar nature revealing itself. "I am activating," he said softly. "Secure your reactors." Then he was gone. In 6 locations across human space, the hidden Xenadar revealed themselves, not as infiltrators, but as allies. They restored systems, broke blockades, left a new symbol burned into the consoles. A fractured circle, a signature. In the war room, a light on the tactical board blinked from red to yellow, then green. Colonel Reed stared. "We just regained Lunar Relay Net." "How?" Vance watched the board recalibrate. "They were with us the whole time," he said, "waiting for this moment." Beyond the orbit of Neptune, in the deep, frozen dark, the true human fleet waited. IT was not on any register. It had no name. High Command called it the Silent Chapter. 10,000 vessels, cloaked beneath layered stealth fields, their mass so vast it gently warped local gravity. They drifted, monuments of dormant fury. Near Saturn, the untouched, observing Radhari fleet finally detected the anomalies. Not heat, not energy, just gravitational whispers. Rhythmic, patterned. Aboard the Radhari flagship in Charova, Sorak observed the data. his fronds twitching, amplify the distortion patterns. On screen, the pattern resolved. It was a grid, a formation, that is a fleet hiding in a gravity's shadow. Sorak stated, cold dread seeping into his voice. He ordered probes launched. None returned. One sent a final fractured image, a shadow blotting out a field of stars. Then, the gravity lock engaged. The Radhari warp drives flickered and died. They could not jump. They were caught. In the war room aboard the human flagship UNS Vanguard, the command light glowed steady. Encirclement complete, Colonel Reed said. They have no exit vector. Saturn suppression grid is active. Shaw confirmed Vance's eyes remain on a holographic display. Engage the anchor. From deep within Saturn's rings, a silent pulse erupted. It was a command written into the fabric of local space-time. Know every Radhari vessel attempting to flee found its jump core unresponsive. Panic, silent and efficient, spread through their fleet. Anian Sharova, Yulith, a cold tactician, thrashed in his fluid tank. We were supposed to dismantle a relic. Sorak did not move. He looked at the tactical map, now showing 10,000 human warships decloaking in perfect, silent synchronization, forming an inescapable sphere around his entire force. He turned to his comms officer. Transmit on all galactic bands. We request formal terms of surrender. Aboard the Vanguard, the message was received. Silence held for a long moment. In a corridor, a grizzled Marine leaned against a wall and let out a slow breath. 8,000 years, he muttered to the man beside him. They finally remembered. His companion watched the stars. They remembered because we made them. Across the fleet, humans and Xenadar stood side by side, watching. Vance finally stepped toward the comms array. The war room dimmed. A single feed would now go out to every corner of the galaxy. He stared into the lens, his expression unreadable. You studied our moves. You forgot we invented the game. The feed split. One side showed Radhari vessels, disarmed and shepherded by human patrols. The other showed joint human Xenadar crews rebuilding the shattered Leonov station above Mars. The scene held on two figures on the lunar surface, Major Cade of the Vanguard and Kale, the Xenadar. Cade extended a hand. Kale took it. No words were needed. The feed returned to Vance. We've been labeled many things. A threat, a myth, obsolete. He paused. We listened. For a millennium, we listened. We chose patience, not absence. The final sequence panned across the human fleet. Thousands of ships motionless. Perfect. A statement written in steel and silence. This is your corrected historical record, Vance said, his voice final. Next time, study the original text. The screen cut to black. A single line of text burned in galactic standard. If you want a thing done right, then nothing. Not the silence of emptiness. The silence of a universe recalibrating its assumptions. On Varnari Prime, the archivist logged a new primary historical event. The Sulver canceled their summit. The Altari broadcast a rare admission. A miscalculation. Noted. Back on Earth, in a restored park near the ruins of Old Geneva, two children, one human, one Xenadar, raced across the grass, laughing. No one watched them with fear. AT the edge of the field, an old technician closed an access panel. Inside, next to the Terran defense sigil, was a new mark etched into the metal. A fractured circle. No longer a hidden brand. A badge of honor. Hey, there, member of the Winds of Thought. Your perspective is part of what makes this community so strong. Let me know your take in the comments. What would you have done if you were in that war room? Just typing human lets me know you're here. If you found this story of quiet defiance compelling, do the channel a huge solid and hit the like button. It fuels our mission to bring you more tales from the edge of infinity. And if you're ready for the next chapter, I've selected another story for you. Just click the screen or the link in the description. See you in the next one.